Some of them are here in the room today. Congress, in a bipartisan fashion, passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act because the American people were demanding justice. Yet you failed to abide by that law and release the files by the deadline established by the law. And when the files were finally released, you failed to protect the survivors that law was intended to protect. Survivors' personal information, including names, phone numbers, home addresses, and images were released. Powerful people were redacted. Survivors were subjected to re-traumatization. More than 1,200 victims, yet only 2 people have ever been prosecuted, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, I was stunned earlier by your conversation with one of my colleagues that you wouldn't even commit to meeting with the survivors, but you did meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Your claim that you can't meet with these victims because they're represented by counsel is utter nonsense. Counsel can be present or a client can waive their right to have counsel, but you're a lawyer. You know this. That was not truthful, what you said to my colleague. You said that they should meet with the FBI. All of these women have reported their crimes decades ago, but yet you won't meet with them. What you will do is meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Over a year ago, you sat with her, and you publicly said you were seeking the truth. So let's talk about what that 2-day meeting produced. Did your interview with Ms. Maxwell lead to a single additional person being charged, yes or no?
No.
Did it lead to a single new investigation, yes or no?
I can't talk about whether there's any investigations.
I'm not asking you about an ongoing or closed investigation. I'm just asking you about this unusual...
I can't answer your question, yes or no.
Did you or anyone else from the DOJ or associated with the president discuss a presidential pardon with Ghislaine Maxwell or her attorneys?
No.
Did you discuss clemency, yes or no?
No.
Did you discuss...
She was convicted. What do you mean clemency?
Did you discuss her transfer to another institution, yes or no?
No.
Well, just 1 week after your meeting, Ms. Maxwell was transferred from a low-security federal institution to a minimum security prison camp. Were you involved with that transfer?
When, as I've talked about before, in the time leading up to me going down to meet with her, we learned that she was receiving threats. It turned out when we were
I'm going to
there,
interrupt you for a matter of time because...
Okay, well, it's not a question I can answer, apparently, in the time you're giving me.
I'm going to tell you this because I deal with issues of criminal justice. When people are under threats in a Bureau of Prison facility, they're put into solitary confinement or protective. They're not moved to a camp.
That's not always true.
It is.
You're just wrong.
What is true is someone that is accused of child sex trafficking under the Bureau of Prison's own policies is not put in a facility like this that seems clearly like a reward. The Department of Justice is also responsible that powerful corporations play by the same rules. Let's take a proposed merger between Paramount-Warner Brothers and Discovery. This is no ordinary transaction. It was a proposed $111 billion merger involving 2 of the last remaining legacy Hollywood studios. As Deputy Attorney General and later Acting Attorney General, you exercised oversight of the Antitrust Division. You approved the decision to close the department's investigation into that merger, yes or no?
I was part of the decision. I
yes,
don't know
you were involved in that.
You
that
don't
is
even
a yes.
let me answer, man.
Did you?
That's
did
incredible.
the career attorneys who investigated that deal recommend closing that investigation?
I didn't have a conversation with the career, but as I was saying
I didn't
earlier,
ask you that. I asked you, did the career attorneys who investigated the deal recommend closing the investigation?
I have no idea what they
You were in charge of that department, yet you have no idea. Well, this
I didn't say I had no idea. It's no idea about the question you asked, about what the career attorney's view was.
You do not know what the career attorney's view was.
I'm not sure what the view was with respect to closing it or not closing it.
Let me tell you why ethics laws that bind you about the appearance of impropriety are so damning in this case. On the same day that Paramount shareholders voted to approve the merger, David Ellison, the head of the acquiring company, hosted a dinner that you attended honoring the President of the United States. While you were at that dinner, the DOJ was still investigating a merger. Did you speak with Mr. Ellison on that evening?
No.
Did you discuss with anyone involved in that organization that evening the department's ongoing investigations?
No.
Well, 6 weeks later, after that dinner, that investigation was closed, that you're stating you have no idea if the attorneys in charge even finished their investigation.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
You asked me a question about whether the attorneys recommended that the investigation be closed, and I said I wasn't sure. That's different than what you just threw back at me.
Do you believe that that creates an appearance of impropriety that you were at a dinner?
No.
Okay. The Justice Department ethics rules are very clear about avoiding the appearance of impropriety. In a case like this, I don't think that's appearance of impropriety. I think that's improper. That the connected and the powerful are getting a chance to rub shoulders. It would seem appropriate that you avoid those kind of appearances and dinners like that.
Every appearance or dinner or speech that I give are cleared by ethics officials.
So your attendance at that dinner was cleared by ethics officials?
Everything that I do.
I didn't ask you everything you do. Was your appearance at that dinner
You
cleared?
can ask the questions, but you cannot control my answers. I'm under oath, and I can answer the questions. I choose to answer them.
Were you
so what I will tell you
approved
is when I do
yes
things
or
outside,
no?
when I
Were
do
you
things,
approved
when
by
I do
ethics
things
to-
outside of the department, whether it's a speech, whether it's a dinner, whether it's an event, they are approved by ethics officials.
You did not answer whether that attendance was approved.
Every time I go out, it's approved. Yes.
You know, Lincoln, it was said about him that if you want to see the true character of a man, don't view him in adversity, give him power. I believe you've had a lot of power. And so we don't have to speculate about what has been revealed with your time in that office. We don't need to worry about what kind of attorney general. You've already had that power. This isn't a job interview like usually. You've sat before this committee before. You've made promises time and time again before. You got the job, actually, to be the number 2 and the acting director. So this isn't a confirmation hearing. This is more of a performance review. And clearly, when it comes to the treatment of Epstein victims, when it comes to politically motivated prosecutions, when it comes from avoiding appearance of impropriety with corporations, you failed. You're asking this body for a promotion. And you've spent today making a lot of promises to follow the law, promises to be independent, promises to serve the American people and not the president. But we don't need your promises. We have your record. We have watched you exercise one of the greatest powers entrusted to any public servant. And what have you shown us? 1,200 victims waiting for justice. What have you shown us? There's 2 prosecutions. While the people involved, the victims, are waiting for action, one of the people prosecuted gets the most cushy arrangement possible after you visit with her. Again and again, you seem to be favoring the interest of a president and the powerful. You've chosen Trump over truth. You've chosen corporations over the Constitution. And you failed to meet the test. I'll say this in closing. This is why your nomination should...
You just watched a sitting Attorney General nominee get asked, point blank, whether his private sit-down with Ghislaine Maxwell led to a single new charge, and the answer was no. Not, we're still working on it. No. A flat, unqualified no. And 6 days later, she's moved to a prison camp. If that doesn't stop you cold, nothing will. This is exactly why this channel exists. We don't run clips because they're viral. We run them because the people who are supposed to answer to the American public keep counting on you not watching the whole exchange. They count on the soundbite getting cut before the follow-up lands. They count on you closing the tab before the senator asks the second question. We don't let that happen here. If you want the full, unedited accountability, the yes or no questions that actually get answered, the moments DOJ nominees would rather you never saw, hit subscribe right now. Not later. Now. Because the algorithm buries channels like this one unless people like you make noise immediately. Hit like on this video before you do anything else. It costs you nothing and it tells YouTube this story matters enough to push to the next person scrolling past it. And share this with one person who still thinks this hearing was just politics. It wasn't politics. It was a man who used to be Donald Trump's personal defense lawyer, sitting across from Ghislaine Maxwell, and then sitting across from a Senate committee explaining why that's fine. Subscribe. Like. Share. Stay with us, because the next clip is worse. Let's put real numbers on what you just watched, because vague outrage doesn't do this justice, specifics do. The Paramount-Skydance acquisition of Warner Bros. Discovery is one of the largest media consolidations in American history, roughly $111 billion, merging two of the last fully independent legacy Hollywood studios into one company. A deal that size doesn't clear DOJ antitrust review on a whim. Career antitrust attorneys spend months, sometimes years, building the record on market concentration, consumer harm, and competitive effects before a recommendation goes anywhere near a political appointee's desk. Todd Blanche was Deputy Attorney General, then Acting Attorney General, with direct oversight of that antitrust division the entire time this review was live. And when Booker asked him the simplest possible question, did the career attorneys who actually investigated this deal recommend closing it? Blanche's answer was that he had no idea. Not, I don't recall the specifics. No idea. The man running the department that made the call cannot tell a Senate committee, under oath, whether his own staff's investigators supported the outcome he signed off on. Now line up the dates. Paramount shareholders vote to approve the merger. That same night, David Ellison, the man whose company is acquiring Warner Bros. Discovery, hosts a dinner honoring President Trump. Todd Blanche attends. 6 weeks later, the DOJ closes its investigation into that exact merger. Blanche says he didn't discuss the investigation with anyone at that dinner. Maybe that's true. But the Department of Justice's own ethics guidance exists precisely so an attorney general never has to ask the public to simply take his word for it. The rule is designed to avoid even the appearance of this exact scenario, regardless of what was or wasn't said over dinner. And when Booker asked directly whether that appearance troubled him, Blanche didn't deflect with nuance. He told Booker outright he could ask the questions but couldn't control the answers. That's not a legal argument. That's not a defense of the process. That's a man refusing to engage with the actual question because the honest answer doesn't help him. Keep that in mind for what's coming next, because Booker isn't done. Here's what the rest of this hearing tells you, because Booker wasn't the only senator who caught Todd Blanche in a contradiction, he was just the sharpest. Later in the hearing, Senator Alex Padilla asked Blanche directly whether he'd previously told him, in a private meeting, that DOJ independence was a misnomer because the president sets policy and the department's job is to execute his goals. Blanche's answer, I definitely did not say that, but nice try. Padilla didn't blink, he said that's exactly what he recalled, and offered to put his own account on the record to help Blanche's. The Department of Justice's own website states its core mission includes independence and impartiality. Blanche, under oath, could not commit to that standard without immediately pivoting to his role as a member of the president's cabinet. Those two things, independence from the president and loyalty to the president's cabinet, are not compatible framings, and Blanche never resolved which one governs his conduct. Then there's the Office of Violence Against Women, the DOJ office that funds domestic violence and stalking services nationwide. Padilla pressed Blanche on why grant notifications, due October 1st of last year, were still not out 9 months later, forcing organizations to lay off staff and cut services for domestic violence victims. Blanche said he wasn't aware organizations had been forced to cut services. Padilla said multiple congressional offices, on a bipartisan basis, had already raised this. Blanche called that untrue. 9 months of silence on funding intended to protect abuse survivors is not a technicality, it's a pattern, and it's the same pattern you saw with the Epstein survivors' files. The people this department is supposed to protect keep waiting the longest. And on January 6th, Padilla asked Blanche a simple yes or no. Should someone who assaulted a police officer at the Capitol be able to collect a taxpayer-funded settlement? Blanche wouldn't say yes or no. He acknowledged that at least 97 pardoned January 6 defendants have since been accused of new crimes, including violent crimes, and agreed they should be arrested and prosecuted, if guilty, but he still wouldn't commit to fighting their claims for taxpayer money without hedging about hypotheticals. Put it all together, and Cory Booker's closing line isn't hyperbole, it's a summary. A DOJ that took months to protect Epstein survivors' basic privacy. A private meeting with a convicted child trafficker that produced 0 new charges, followed by a prison transfer this same official can't fully account for. An antitrust investigation closed weeks after a dinner with the acquiring company's CEO. A man who cannot say, under oath, whether the Justice Department answers to the law or to the president who used to be his client. That's not a confirmation hearing. That's a record. And the record is the verdict.